I first would like to thank everyone for joining us today for a discussion titled From Diaspora Dreams to U.S. Business Ownership. I especially would like to thank Dr. Asagid Habtawelt, who is a seasoned leadership strategist, communication expert, and organizational development consultant. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to bring a very, very important conversation to our community. So before we get started, I think first we would like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself as an expert in leadership as well as business brokerage. I would like to hear some information about your background as well as how you got started and anything you would like us to know about yourself.
Thank you, Betty, and I'm excited to be here for inviting me for this important conversation. The first thing people want to know is from where I am from. I'm originally from Ethiopia, on the eastern part of Ethiopia, which is Harar, like 75 kilometers away from Addis Ababa. I have different qualifications academically, such as doctorate in veterinary medicine, computer science masters, and also PhD in strategic leadership. I've been providing training, coaching to different government agencies, corporations, and community organizations. I mainly work with leaders and also professionals and entrepreneurs in helping them go to the next level. If they are professionals, how can they highlight themselves, have presence, and have influence and become leaders? If they are leaders, helping them create a well-functioning system, processes, and teams, and also for them to take the organization or the team to the next level. With entrepreneurs, I help them, for example, to set up their company, and or if they already have a company, I help them organize themselves to get capital or other means of scaling to go to the next level. These are some of the things that I do, and I'm excited to be here. And let's do it. Let's have this conversation.
Great. I am definitely excited to have this conversation. So, as we were preparing for this panel, I think we focused on three main topics. The first being investment. So, what investment opportunities are there, and what we should be aware of. The second is establishing new businesses in the U.S. And the third is transferring or creating a connection with the diaspora community, especially those living in Ethiopia. Right? So how do you move or transition your business from Ethiopia into the US? So I think we have such a wide interest here, and especially with our audience. So we would definitely be covering those interesting topics there. So to start, I think we're going to start with establishing new businesses here in the US, right? So when it comes to buying and valuing businesses in the US, you state that it's actually smarter to use what's already existing. So, right, well, we don't have to invent the wheel. You don't have to start from scratch. Please go ahead and explain more on that and how you would think it would be the easiest for somebody who is thinking about establishing business here.
Yeah, let's just step back a little bit. And I want to say one thing, which is whenever people think about Ethiopians in the diaspora, they think as hard workers, smart, very nice, sociable, disciplined. That's how they know us. The next chapter of the diaspora should be for us to have ownership, to build wealth, and also to have impact in terms of investing and owning businesses and so on. That's why we have this conversation. And our society, our diaspora, is well known about our capacity and the influence that we have in the United States. But how much can we influence in the United States if we enter into businesses, which means how can we create businesses? When we think of creating businesses, there are different options. One option would be just to start with from the scratch, which is you go out, design, build, launch it. Another option would be to go out and buy, which means you go out to find an existing business and then you pay for it and you own that business. The question is, which one is best in terms of, let's say, safety? which one is safe,
Yes.
which one is easier or fast. Let me give you statistics. There are a couple of statistics in this area. One statistics says that 1 out of 10 businesses fail within a decade. There are some stats that say that actually 7 of them fail, not 9 of them. So the first data was 9 of them fell, only 1 succeeds, but there are data which say that 7 of them fell, maybe 3 of them succeed. It doesn't matter. But on average, more than half of new businesses fail. Part of the reason would be maybe there is no business for them. There's no demand for that new business. Or maybe there are no clients, or maybe there are no opportunities or capital or interest and so on and so, or expertise, which means when you open your own new business, you have 1 in 10 chance to succeed. 1 out of 10 chance to succeed. Why would you take that chance? But if when you look for an existing business, at least that business survived, and that business already passed those chances of failure. And therefore, when you approach an existing business, for example, they may already have clients. They already have proof of business. Otherwise, why would you buy them? Unless they have clients, unless they have proof of concept, unless they have products and services. And therefore, your chance to succeed immediately increases. And also, when you buy an existing company, you have a team, system, and processes that are in place. Sometimes when you start, I started a company, it took me years and years to establish customers, systems, processes. And I found out myself that I couldn't be able to scale this company. Actually, I closed one of my companies because it was not scalable. But when you buy an existing company, there is a chance that you could be able to scale it because it's tested, you know about its clients, its products, services, and therefore you're able to buy.
I think that makes complete sense. But one thing I would then be concerned is there is a reason why the business owners are selling the business, right? Assuming maybe it's not doing well for numerous reasons, and maybe promotion, and maybe that they lack the need in that community, or whatever the reasoning is. There is a reason why they're selling it. So I think there's always still a risk that you're taking, even though yes, it is an established business. But you do say that there are 3 key valuation basics that every buyer must know, right? So what do you think would be a good way to evaluate those businesses?
When it comes to existing businesses, you're right. There are reasons why they sell. One thing I highlight, especially now, is there is a concept called silver tsunami, which means baby boomers are retiring. They have been successful. They have like 10 trillions of dollar valuation of businesses owned by baby boomers, and they want to unload their companies. Think about it. They're not selling because their companies are failing. They're selling because they want to retire. When somebody is in that kind of position, we call this a seller who is with a sense of urgency, a seller who is desperate. They want to unload that. And this is a golden opportunity for someone to find that kind of businesses. They are in need of unloading their business. And you're right, you should not go out just buy existing businesses without making valuations. And I'm going to mention a couple of areas where you could be able to evaluate your company. There are professionals that do valuation, but if you want to do yourself, you need to know a couple of things. One area you want to make sure that the company has is the founder is separate from the company, which means the company is independent of the founder. If you buy a company which is 100% dependent on the founder, now you are in deep trouble, because now you bought this company from this person. It was dependent on that person. People trusted this person. The system worked because of this person. Most probably, they have everything in their head, and now they're gone. You didn't buy a business in this case. You bought a job. You have to do yourself. The second area you want to make sure that you are careful is whether the business has diverse customers. Sometimes what happens is that you see the number of revenues they have and you think, oh my God, this is a great company, I want to buy. But the question you should ask is, how much diverse are the customers? Think about, you have 90% of your revenue is coming from one customer. You bought this company. Let's say that one customer walks away. You lost 90% of your revenue. And therefore, this is one criteria you want to make sure that you take care of. Another area you want to make sure you take care is whether there is a well-functioning team, because at the end of the day, especially if you are entrepreneur, you want to make sure that you have a team that support the company, because you don't want to be part of the team and work in the company. You want to work on the company, which means you have a well-functioning team so that you could be able to guide them. You could be able to go out and enlarge the scope of that company. These are, I think, the three areas you have to make sure that you know they are in place before you even consider buying any business. And of course, if it comes to the technical aspect of it, every industry has multiples. If you want to buy, for example, a company which is in, let's say, in hospitality, there are multiples that you could use to accurately evaluate that company. You know their revenue, then you know the multiple. You could be able to gauge how much that company worth if you want to buy that company. If you have a specific question, I will answer. But for people, what I advise them is, before you buy a company, make sure that you know that the founder is not 100% in charge and the company is independent of the founder. And also you want to make sure that the company has a team and, of course, diverse customers. If you know these couple of things, the rest is just technical people would do for you. They will ask the revenues of the company, the tax returns of the company, and there are methods on how to evaluate a company. I don't want to take people into details of this methods. It becomes too detailed for them.
No, that was great. I think you gave us a very concise and useful takeaway, because it does completely make sense. You don't want your business to be entirely dependent on the founder, because again, you're buying from the founder and you're replacing him. So when he's gone, you don't want your business to be gone with him. Second, diverse clientele. Again, a very excellent point to make here, because you don't want to be reliant on just one or two businesses sustaining your entire company. And the third, having enough team that could be able to take over in your absence, definitely very important. So that was great. And I just want to say that we are going to provide some resources. So if you do need additional information, then you can definitely go ahead and visit Dr. Asad Habtawal's website as well. He has excellent resources. So we don't want to invest too much time into going into too much detail, but we're going to be giving you resources as you walk away from this conversation. So, okay. So then let's say you found a great company that you'd like to purchase that already exists. You're ready to go ahead and make the offer. What are your financing options?
There are multiple options that you have, but I want to give a good example that highlights how much sometimes immigrants, they may not have information about financing. There was a lady, she's very, very passionate. She was told that Asagidi is a business broker and he could be able to help you find a business. She called me, we chatted, we greeted each other, and she told me that I want to buy a business. I asked, what kind of business are you looking for? A laundromat. And then I asked, how do you plan to finance it? She told me, I have $250,000. And then, are you using this as a down payment, or do you want to find a laundromat which is valuated for $250,000? The latter was her case, because she was looking just to use her cash, because in her mind, she can only buy using cash. And I explained to her there are many options, and I'm going to share some of these options. One of the options would be you can go out and find a conventional lender. These are banks, and institutional investors and so on. They give you some interest rate, but most of the time, the interest rate is a little bit high when you go to these conventional lenders, and also the term is very short. There are other options, especially for small businesses. Many people may not know SBA, Small Business Administration, they offer up to $5 million of loan with longer term, better interest rate. I can mention a couple of them. For example, there is an SBA loan program called 7A, which is a kind of generic loan. You could get up to 5 million. Of course, don't quote me. It could go up, down. It may change. And also it has requirements. But if you go for this, financing means you're getting loan from the government and you just need to have down payment, certain percentage. It may change from time to time, depending on how much you want to get from the 7A program. You just need to down payment. For the lady I mentioned, for example, she could use the $250,000 as a down payment.
Mm-hmm.
And then she could get the loan, let's say $1 million or $2 million loan. The power of this is leverage. One of the reasons why savvy investors are succeeding in the United States who know the system is they leverage. They don't just use the little cash they have.
Mm-hmm.
They want to use that as a down payment and then get larger amount of capital. Think about it. If I have a laundromat and it's only for $250,000, this is a very small business. I may not get a lot of return. I may not have enough team members. Even if I succeed, I get some income, but I cannot scale. I have limitation in terms of capital. But think about you getting 5 times larger laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are afraid of larger organization, but their thinking is this: if it is large, means I have to work hard. It must be difficult. But if you think about it, the larger the business is, the easier. Those business owners, founders who have small businesses that are actually working hard and hustling and stressed out to meet needs, let alone to go to the next level. But if you have larger organization, means you have larger market, which means you get out of volume a lot of revenue, which means you can use that to hire more people, to produce more product and services, to market, to brand yourself, and so on. Further scaling yourself. This is 7A, just once, 504, which is, for example, you have a lease for your company. You could pay from your own revenue, or you can go to SBA 504, which allows you, for example, to buy this property that you leased rather than paying lease. And when you leave, you don't have any equity. But rather, what happens is that you get that loan, for example, and then you buy that property. Whatever you used to pay for your lease, now it's paid towards owning that property. By the time you're done, you have a property. You build your equity. These are just a couple of examples. I'm not a CPA. I'm not expert or licensed on this one. I'm providing educational information here. People could Google, could approach, for example, loan brokers, SBA qualified lenders, stuff like that. The information is out there, but we need to have this exposure. Okay, if I want to buy a business, what are my options? How do I finance? And as I said, you can use your cash, or you can go to SBA, or you can go to conventional lender. Here is what a lot of people don't know. Seller financing. I mentioned about silver tsunami, which means these successful baby boomers, they have money. They're not rushing to get cash when they sell their businesses. Actually, they want to save from capital gain. And because of that, what they do is, I'll become your bank. Actually, they benefit from the interest rate because they are now the bank. Whatever interest they agree with you, they are getting paid every month, principal plus interest. For them is they're not paying 20% or so capital gain right there. They could be able to become a bank for you, and this allow them also to stay with you to make sure that their legacy continues. What's the benefit for the buyer is extraordinary. You don't go to all of those hassles to get money, to get capital. The seller actually wanna sponsor you. Here is another thing. When you go for seller financing means unless they have confidence about their business, they won't just take down payment and then you pay them every month, because they may be afraid that if the business fails, I'm not gonna get paid. This financing especially is not explored by a lot of people, seller financing. One of the advantage of working with a person like me, a business broker, is I know businesses that are willing to seller finance. I have someone from Ethiopia reached out to me. I don't give specifics, and he was interested to have a branch business here in the United States to complement what he does in Ethiopia. And he already knew about seller financing. And when I was talking to him, he was well aware there was seller financing. The part he didn't know actually was there is a support from business brokers like myself. He didn't know that part. He was looking to find these businesses that are willing to seller finance or bank their own businesses. And I was telling him which states he could be able to get seller financing. And I was telling him that even if he's not interested to get a business where I live, which is in Florida, I have a lot of business brokers around the country, and I could be able to connect him with other business brokers around the country. These are really great ways of financing, and this is great for our community. By the way, the United States is the only country that has this kind of capital access. It's cheaper compared to other countries. Other countries, they have programs, loans, and so on, but they are very expensive and also very, very tough to get loans. In the United States, this is one of the competitive advantages of the United States. That's why a lot of businesses succeed in the United States because of capital accessibility, and our community should tap into this competitive advantage of living in the United States by getting these different variations of financing.
That is fascinating. I think as immigrants, we're so used to, saving and working really hard, saving, and everything revolves around cash most of the time. And, we don't realize usually that there are options out there, right? And you bring up a really, really good point. I didn't even know about seller financing myself, and I have lived here for a very long time.
Yep.
I don't think these informations are easily accessible sometimes, especially if you don't have, or if you don't live in a community that's already well established, right? I think we have talked about this, me and you before, but Americans, they grow up with the environment where these kinds of discussions are happening, but we don't. We're usually first generations. And so I'm glad that you're bringing up these very much important points.
I want to give you one that strengthens your comment, because we have to face this. Look, we have a very rich culture, and we're proud of our culture. It helped us for thousands of years. A lot of countries, people from different cultures, they want to learn our culture. So we have a lot of cultural assets that we need to be proud of. One of the areas where we need to work on is what you said. Look, when you compare immigrant communities in the United States that are opening businesses, owning, and building wealth, we're not at the top. When you study immigrant communities, Jewish, Greeks, and Syrians, Lebanese, from Africa, like Nigeria, South Africans, they have a lot of entrepreneurs in their communities compared to us. And therefore, we have to challenge ourselves. Look, we are hard workers. Actually, I shared this story with you last week. I was talking to an investment advisor, And he asked me, from which country are you from? And I told him I'm from Ethiopia. Oh, he was so happy. I like Ethiopians. I have worked with Ethiopians. They are hard workers. They're nice. They're friendly. He didn't say, for example, I have an Ethiopian or Ethiopian investors with me, investing with me. He didn't say, I have business partnership with Ethiopians. We are well known, which is a great thing, great asset, which is we're hard workers, we are disciplined, we're good people, but that's not enough for our community. We want to be known like other community. For example, if I say Jewish, you immediately think, oh, Jewish, they're very, very business savvy, and they support each other, and they are business savvy. And therefore, we have to face that fact. And the challenge you see is it stays in the background. For example, I was in Virginia. I don't mention names, but there was a very fascinating person who talked to me, and he was raising capital. He actually raised $350,000. I was surprised. Think about this. How many people trust you to give you the $1,000? He raised $350,000. When he was talking to me, he didn't know I was a business broker and commercial real estate professional. He didn't know he was sharing with me his vision and the vision of the people who trusted him with that money. Their vision was to start multifamily building from scratch, which may take 1, 2, 3 years. And their plan is to raise the entire capital from their own pocket. And they had like $350,000, and they are waiting until they reach something like $2 million before they start the construction of that property. And I was asking him some questions. One question I asked, why didn't you think about buying an existing building? Because you don't need to wait 1 year, 2 years, because a lot of opportunity cost. Plus, it's already built. You don't need to take risk. By the time you build your building, so many things could change. The interest rate could change. The loan you got may double its rate, and so on. Why not? He didn't know that, or he didn't like that idea. And then I asked, why don't you get loan? He was like, how can I get loan? Because we are a team of people, we are investors. Yeah, there are commercial loans. He knew there are loans for individual home buyers, property buyers, but he didn't know that there are commercial loans. My suggestion was, rather than waiting until you raise the entire $2 million, why don't you use the $350,000 as down payment, get that $2 million, $3 million, go out there and buy and start to create cash flow. Now the people who gave you the money, cash flow is coming, they're going to love you. They don't ask for the money. But if you wait until you raise $2 million, hey, after a while, they generate question like, what is he really doing with that money? The doubt going to creep in, and they will say, give me my money back. I trust you, I like you, but I prefer my money to be around my pocket. I told him that. The point I'm making is this. Our community, a great community, we have so many strengths. But when it comes to leveraging capital, which is one of the competitive advantages of being in the United States, we're lagging behind. There is no shame in that. We have to say, like you admitted, I didn't know about this. Now you know what you're going to do. Hey, let's talk and take our community to the next level, which is building wealth, which is owning, which is leveraging capital and taking our community to the next level and change the story. The story is we're not just hard workers. We're not just nice people to have. Hey, we're also investors. Hey, we're also investment savvy. We need to have that kind of conversation. If not for this generation, what about the next generation? And I'm glad that YAP, one of my favorite Ethiopian community organizations, brought this conversation and brought these questions. And thank you for asking these tough questions.
Of course. And thank you for being here. Honestly, I really do appreciate you taking your time to go through these conversations. So, okay. So let's say I have found a business. I have now found financing options based on your recommendations, whether it's SBA loans, conventional loans, or even working through seller financing. But I am located in Ethiopia or really somewhere else. Can you walk me through what I can do to obtain my investor visa?
This is very important for a lot of Ethiopians because in my conversations, a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know. After I became a business broker, I had a mentor and he was like, I think you and I should work on investor visa. I didn't know. I asked, what's investor visa? He told me, didn't you know? Oh, yeah. I helped a lot of people to come to the United States, but he have had experience in Europe, Asia, Canada, and South America. And I asked him, what is investor visa? And he explained to me. And of course, I went deep and I studied and I realized that there are some investor visas, E1, E2, and also EB5. And I'm more interested as a business broker who's helping people to get this investor visa is either E2 or EB5. E2 is treaty based. If your country has a treaty with the United States, you could do reasonable investment in the United States. During that investment time, you could be able to come in and out of the United States without trouble. This E2 visa allows you to come to the United States to do business. The next comment, which may interest a lot of people, is called EB5. If somebody wants to actually immigrate in the United States and be here to do business, they could be able to get a visa which leads to green card and to citizenship, which is a great visa because if your interest is to diversify, maybe you've done your homework in Ethiopia, you succeeded, maybe you want to send your son or your daughter or one of the family members who want to extend to come to the United States and expand the scope. This is a beautiful, especially for those people who can afford, because this one requires between 800 up to $1 million investment, and somebody should be able to create up to 10 jobs. I don't go to in details because there are immigration lawyers who helps you the step by step how to get these visas, what businesses and properties are qualified to do that. The most important thing today that we need to know is that there are opportunities for people who want to expand, diversify their portfolio to come to the United States and invest. Our people, we have the ability, the potential. We should not just invest in Africa, Asia, or South America alone. Why not also invest in the United States? This is one of the countries where you have a lot of advantage. If you want to invest in properties, for example, one of the best property laws are in the United States. And one of the countries which has less bureaucracy is the United States. What I'm saying is Ethiopians who are scaling, who have the ability, should go for EB5, especially as a family. They want to extend someone to come here, get green card, potentially get citizenship to establish themselves in the United States and leverage the opportunities there are in the United States. These are a couple of investor visas that there are.
That is very interesting. And I think, again, these are new things that I'm learning from you as well. And I don't think we're exploring these opportunities enough. As you're saying, I think people are intimidated when it comes to investing in the US. But with enough cash flow, I think it does give you enough opportunity, not only for yourself, but of course, your family as well.
Before we go, for example, some people push back when I tell them
Yeah.
that, look, I don't have $800 million, $800,000. I tell them that there are other creative ways you could be able to get also loan because there are experts in this area. I'm not licensed. I'm not the expert. The only thing I could do is connect you with a qualified immigration lawyer, and these immigration lawyers could be able to tell you which states, which areas where there are opportunities for you to invest, and then we'll find CPAs and corporate lawyers who know about these things to help you, and also lenders who could be able to support you, and you may not be able to need to invest the entire money from your pocket. There are options, there are creative ways to do that. Let's say you don't have that amount of hundreds of $1,000s. The E2 visa, I don't have the number, but it says reasonable. If you invest a reasonable amount of capital, you could be able to get E2, but it requires treaty between the United States and Ethiopia. The good thing is, so far as I'm concerned, they have a treaty, which means if you don't have that much amount of money, yeah, you won't be able to immigrate to the United States and establish yourself, and you have a path to get green card and citizenship. But at least you could be able to come to the United States as an investor, as far as you are making reasonable investment. And again, there are lawyers. I can make connections. If somebody is interested, we can make connections. These are immigration lawyers will tell you the step-by-step how to get these visas. And one disclaimer I have for everybody is, don't start anything before you talk to an immigration lawyer. Sometimes what people do from other countries is they come to the United States with a visitor visa, and then they want to start these investor visas. And USCIS doesn't allow you. You have to go back home and start the process from there. And therefore, I emphasize this. You have to start first with an immigration lawyer. And there are well-qualified immigration lawyers. We can make connections.
That is great to hear. Yeah. So going over to, again, we have found our business, or we are transitioning our business here. We have enough finances that are secured. What would you say, especially to those that already have businesses, how would you recommend for them to connect with the diasporas that are living in the US? And how do you recommend that somebody expands, thinks globally, and acting strategically, right? Because now you're moving for your business, and so you're transitioning into a whole different community. But so now your audience is going to change, your clientele is going to change. But not only that, even adapting to the culture, whether it's through the finances even, right? So the way we use our credit system here in the US is significantly different from how things operate in Ethiopia. So how would you say, and how would you think that it would be easy for somebody to do such a thing, to make partnerships and to make the jump into establishing their business in the US?
Betty, you brought a very important point. I'm going to take you back. It was 2024 or 2023. I don't remember. I was attending a meeting. I was sitting down there, and there are three very powerful panelists, Ethiopian professionals and investors on the stage. One of the conversation was how to network in the United States to be successful. I don't go in details because we Ethiopians are good to network among ourselves. We just need to go out to network with other cultures. The question I asked, it was in Virginia, and the question I asked was, the person I asked, I don't have permission, so I don't mention. He's a very known Ethiopian. I appreciate him, I admire him, and I asked, look, you scaled, which means he broke the barrier that you're talking about, and he scaled, which means he has CEOs under him, and he's leading the umbrella organization, giving him enough time to scale, enough time to expand and reach more business opportunities and market. The question I had for him is, how did you do it? Because we have to admit this. We Ethiopians, we have a lot of businesses, but many of these businesses are mom and pop. Part of the reason we're not scaling is because, like you said, we're not expanding, mingling with other communities, and we don't have strategies, and we don't have these different partners we bring into our business. And because of that, we don't scale. A very interesting conversation I had was, I was again in a networking event, and I was talking to someone, and this person, they were complaining about how much our community is not open for new ideas about getting loans, stuff like that. She was frustrated. I really empathized and I joined her and I said, okay, you're right, I agree. Somehow we're not open to new things, and we always do the same thing and again and again. We agreed, and I empathized her and sympathized her. I joined, and I felt very safe. And I said, you know what? I also have the same frustration. I asked myself included, why are we Ethiopians are not scaling? Why should we always have these 100,000 or maybe $200,000 businesses? I see other communities, they hit $1 million mark. They hit unicorn, $1 billion. We have the potential. We have the ability. What's going on? And I'm frustrated about this. She was somehow got surprised, and her voice changed. And she told me, what are you talking about, Asagid? I'm talking about people having roof under the, roof under the, over their heads. And you're talking about Ethiopians having millions and people. We don't need that. If we have enough money to get loan and get homes, and if we take care of our family, that's enough. She completely forgot that. She was frustrated that Ethiopians are not open to new ideas. Now I brought an idea, and then she just shut it down. Part of the reason is because I was there. I remember myself. The only vision I had was Jesus. How can I have a company? And actually, when I look back my own company, oh my gosh, I have a job. Yeah, I have a company. I'm self-employed, but I don't really have a business because I couldn't scale it. And one of the challenge is, of course, the mindset. We have to believe that we can scale our companies like other communities. We can have these multi-million-dollar companies, even billion-dollar companies. That's first. The second thing is some of the skill set that we need to have to scale, because when you have a small mom and pop company, if you have a little bit of skill set like networking and making people happy when they come to you, you can survive and you can thrive. But if you want to scale, like you said, it requires to go beyond your network, beyond your backyard, to connect with other influencers and other strategic partners, and bringing capital, bringing people together so that you could be able to leverage other people's money, other people's platforms and influence. One of the things I advise leaders is your success as a leader is determined how much you could be able to borrow influence from other people. Like, think about this. I'm very insignificant and too little to have impact. But if I go beyond my backyard, beyond my influence, I could borrow money. Yes, of course, we talked about that. I could also borrow the influence of other people in my industry. I can bring them together. I can collaborate, and then I can scale my company. My point is, if we work on our mindset that we need to scale, because the more we scale, the more we could reach many people. We could have more influence. We could hire more people. We can create jobs. And also, we could be able to expand easily and retire if we want to, or at least have time to take vacation. And of course, we can also inherit the company to our kids. I think this is the area where we need to work on our mindsets, skill sets, and develop some of the competencies we need, like how to create alliances. How do you form some coalitions and then leverage these to scale and to go to the next level?
Yes, and this is actually a great transition to my next question, because I think in our community, there's a lot of barriers that you're gonna have to break, right? So the first starts with language barrier.
Yeah.
Are you confident in your communication to be able to sell your idea, to convince somebody to invest in you, right? Because now we're thinking outside our community. Because within our community, you can use Amharic if you need to explain yourself, or really any other languages that we have. But going out there and putting yourself in that position to communicate your idea effectively and convince someone is, I think, a skill set that we need to acquire, right? And then another thing is, who is your target audience as well? So if you're thinking just within our community only, then you're limiting yourself as you said, and you're not breaking that barrier, because now you're just thinking, how do I survive? How do I make it to a year, 2 years, and not thinking, how do I make $1 million off of my business, right? So this brings up a very important point, because I know your other role is also in leadership, right? Training others to be leaders within our community, especially within the business field. So can you explain some more on that, or elaborate on that?
Yeah, I would love to. At the end of the day, I believe that everybody is a leader. Yes, we're not born into leadership, but we're born with potential to become leaders. And leadership starts with self. First of all, I have to lead myself. I could be a professional. I could be a son or a daughter, a mom or dad. I have to have the leadership ability first to lead myself. You cannot lead others before you lead yourself. That's the first point I want to make. The second point is, wherever you are as a leader, you should have this ability of leadership where you could be able to work with others. You could be able to mobilize resources. One of the most important skill sets I want to emphasize, which relates with your question and what we're talking about, is resourcefulness. Because leadership is not about title, or it's not about me being in a high leadership position and commanding people, do this, do that, or being orator and speaking and commanding people, do this or that. Leadership, about, if you sum it up, is being resourceful, especially in the entrepreneurship context. And therefore, if I want to be resourceful, means, first of all, I need to have the ability to communicate in front of a camera, in front of an audience. I can give you some tips on this one, but if anyone is interested to work on their presentation skills, I can work with you. We have a coaching program. I can support you. If you have a team, we can help them how to communicate in front of a camera on the stage. But the key thing is this: a lot of people don't understand that whatsoever great products, services, qualities, commitment, character that you have, unless you know how to communicate that to other people, they don't buy your products and services. They don't invest in you. They don't collaborate with you. Some people, they push back, telling me that, hey, I don't have ego. I don't want to be known. I don't want to talk about myself, or I don't want to talk about me and my company. We have good qualities. We have good services. Hey, if we do our part, business comes, money comes. No. Especially now. Think about it. We don't have social media now. We have attention media. If you're now going out, communicating, speaking, promoting your brand and what you have, believe me, you'll become irrelevant and obsolete. And if you have to choose just one quality of a leader, especially in the business context, I encourage you to know how to speak in front of a camera, in front of an audience. Of course, there are advanced forms of communication. One area I'm helping leaders is how to raise capital. Think about it. When you start in front of investors, you may have 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They may quickly just neglect you and walk away, because these are very busy people. How do you communicate with investors? Create urgency, create demand, scarcity, and then close them within that short period of time for them to open their wallet and invest with you. Which means, as a business, if you want to scale, if you want to be successful, start from, first of all, communicating in front of your camera, leading teams, speak in front of, let's say, small number of people. But at the end of the day, the successful ones that are succeeding in business, they know how to pitch. They raise millions of dollars because they know how to communicate. And if you think about it, they may not be technically that much better than other people. They may not have some talents more than other people, or dedication more than other people. What do they have? They know how to communicate and inspire people, challenge people, rally people, bring supporters, investors, stakeholders, and get the capital they need. That requires communication skill. I know there are many leadership skills, but with the context that we have, this is what I recommend. If they want to start to succeed as entrepreneurs or investors, I encourage people to start to develop communication skill.
I couldn't agree more. Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little. So we said the last section that we want to focus on is investment, right?
Yeah.
I know you're not an expert in this field, but I know you have a lot of experience working with investors. And so when it comes to us, we said we make a lot of money, but we like to save it, put it in a savings account, because that makes you feel safe, right? That money's not going anywhere. But I think in order to build long-lasting generational wealth, or even to make your money work, right? It doesn't have to sit in a bank making 0.05% interest every year and not really doing anything. So if you can give us some information on stocks, even potentially becoming angel investors and so on. So I'll give you that opportunity.
I'm glad you brought that one, and I'm glad that you disclaimed on my behalf, because I have to continue. License as a business broker, I have to continuously disclaim, hey, I'm not a financial advisor. SEC, I don't want them to go after me. I disclaim again, I'm not a financial advisor. Whatever I tell you, don't pull the trigger without discussing with your lawyer, with your CPA, with your financial advisor. That said, whatever I'm going to say is educational. And you're right. I meet a lot of Ethiopian friends and colleagues. They may have like $50,000 in the bank, $100,000 in the bank. I don't know, maybe even there are other people who may put their money, I don't want to say where, but some people may not even put, their money in the bank. They may put it somewhere. The funny thing is, the bank only gives you 0.5 something interest. Now, let me ask you, Betty, how much is inflation, the rate of inflation? Right now, maybe at single digit, but it was at one point double digit. At least it's 6 or 7 or maybe 5. I don't know. As you can see, when you put your money in the bank, a lot of money. I'm not saying emergency money. You need to have some money for emergency. You need some cash. But I'm talking about these people who have large sum of money. And if you think about it, the inflation itself is going to eat it. You put $100,000 in the bank, it's down by 8%, 7%, 6%, 5%, but the interest rate from the bank is 0.5 something. But if you know where you could invest, there are many ways to invest. I'm going to start from the simplest one, the easiest one that you mentioned, which may not require a lot of financial or investment savviness. You could start with stock. You may even invest in indexes. These are there, at least they will return, maybe, I cannot say exactly, but 7, 8, 10%. Or you put that money into bond, which is a fixed income that could generate like a stock, but it has low risk, and therefore you could be able to do that. Or if you have more money, what you could do is you could be able to invest as an angel investor or as a venture capitalist. You could be able to invest your money in different alternative investment vehicles. And of course, if you want to invest in these alternative vehicles or private, public, private investments, you have to be accredited. In the United States, exactly, I don't remember exactly, but you have to have like $250,000 at least salary for the past 2 years, and you could be able to have the same kind of income. Was married, I don't know, maybe $300,000 or $350,000, or you have a net what do you call your what do you call them? I'm trying to figure out that term. Net worth, yes.
Okay.
If you have a net worth up to $1 million minus your residential property, you are called accredited. I don't know, the number could be different. Somebody could go out and Google that. If you are an accredited investor, these alternative private investment opportunities, they allow you, because you are accredited, you can invest because you are accredited. If you lose money, you could be able to handle that. But people who are not accredited, they could be able to invest with bond on stock and other opportunities that they have. At least I remember when I was talking to you, you mentioned about Uku, for example. We talked about that. Our community, we could also come together. For example, we could use Uku, for example, and modify it. If we have, let's say, everybody gets $50,000, let's say for the next 1 year, when somebody gets that money, they could use as a down payment, for example, to 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 invest on something like that, creative ways. Because I see there are some people who still use ukub. I don't know the English equivalent of that. There are still people who use the old ways of doing ukub the way they did in Ethiopia. But in the United States, why you wait 1 year or 2 years to buy something or to invest something? Why not just do it today? You could be able to get loan and buy that thing or invest on that thing today. Why wait 1 year or 2 years? But if we become creative, we can use our social self-made. Therefore, we could be able to generate some capital within ourselves and use that as a down payment to leverage capital and invest on bigger things. These are some of the areas where people could be able to invest their capital if they are interested. I'm not a licensed investment advisor or financial advisor, but I know a lot of them. Depending on your ability to invest, I can connect you with these professionals.
Thank you. Yes, I understand. This is not your expertise, but thank you for clarifying. And I think that was a lot of information that you shared as well. And I'm glad this event is recorded, because if anyone comes up with a coup as an angel investment opportunity, that is my trademark. So
Yes.
I have to be a witness. Okay.
In terms of timing, I don't know. We have like 3 minutes.
Yes,
or
we have 3
okay.
minutes left. We have some questions from the audience.
Okay.
It seems like a lot of the questions are focused on the EB5 program.
Okay.
So I'm going to pick the first question I have seen here. Maybe you can give a minute or two to explain, and then we can go into the closing remarks.
All right.
So the question says, how do you stay updated on changes to the EB5 program and its regulations?
The best place to go is USCIS website. USCIS is the one managing that program and other visa-related, immigration-related visas.
Great. And what are risks that are associated with EB5 investments?
There are many risks, and immigration lawyers could be able to tell you some of the risks could be if you, for example, not follow the exact, because think about this. I sometimes see some people who just trust their family members, friends, and colleagues. And it's normal in our culture, especially. We trust the people close to us, and they take advice from people close to them and make this kind of big investment decisions, and they may mess it up. They don't directly contact the right. Remember, even immigration lawyers, there are immigration lawyers who don't know about EB5. They must be specializing EB5. I think that's one of the risks, talking to people who don't have any idea about EB5, including me. I can give you this is an option, but I don't have the expertise to help you. You have to figure out that immigration lawyer who could give you. Another risk would be coming in the United States, want to start the process here. They already invested so much money and they have to go back to their country. Another would be picking the wrong business or the wrong property and they don't qualify. These are some of the common risks that I have read and I talked to other people. The best approach would be to talk first with a qualified immigration lawyer, and we can facilitate that.
Great. So we have just a very short amount of time, so I'm going to give you the opportunity for any comments you have, any closing remarks or call to action for our community.
First of all, I want to thank YAP. This is one of the Ethiopian community organizations I have known for many years. I've been invited, and I want to appreciate that you guys invited me again. And also, I want to appreciate you Betty and also Nardos. She's behind the scene doing a lot of hard stuff, making sure that everything runs smooth. So I want to appreciate the two of you coordinating this with me. That said, I want to appreciate those of you who are live listening to this. I know we had very short time, but one thing I will advise you is read more, Google more, research more. If you are interested, if you reach out to me, I have free resources. I can give those free resources if you don't have my contact information, or if you prefer to reach out to Nardos or Betty, you can reach out to them and we can support you, because with the 1 minute I have, I cannot tell everything. But one thing I challenge you, we're fellow Ethiopians and we should have that room. I hope you forgive me that we need to challenge ourselves, especially our mindset. We have a lot of potential, and the way to start challenging ourselves is exposing ourselves. I just exposed you with some of this information. Can you imagine if you expose yourself more? Together we could be able to have impact. That's the message I have. Let's challenge ourselves. Let's be humble. Let's just own our responsibility, which is we are in a great country, the United States of America, cheap capital, a lot of opportunities to invest. Why not we change our story? Story from hardworking immigrants, nice to have immigrants, beautiful immigrants. Why not we should also be called those who build wealth, those who build legacy, those who serve multitudes of people here in the United States. And I look forward to collaborate with anyone who is interested to work with me. Hopefully you invite me again. And then when I come back again, maybe I can dive deep to talk details. That said, thank you for being here, everyone watching, and also Betty and Nardos.
Thank you very much. I couldn't put it in any better words. That was very inspirational. I hope our audiences were able to take a lot of information from this discussion. And I know we kind of hit the surface on most of these topics, but we can definitely dive deeper in the future as well. So thank you very much for investing your time, Dr. Asakid. I really do appreciate you. I would like to thank my team, our YEP community for their support. And again, of course, Nardos in the background doing all the work. So thank you very much. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Bye.